Papua di sini
Dengan
Indonesia. Cuma ini versi bersih.
Perancis itu kan kebanyakan dorong itu imigran dari Afrika. Orang Perancis itu banyak orang hitam di sana. Karena banyak pengungsi Afrika yang ke sana. Bukan juga pengungsi. Kan
Datang lah.
dorong ini kan budak. Budak-budak dulu. Kebanyakan dorong itu di Eropa.
Kanan. Gimana bisa didapatkan dua-dua ini?
You're muted, by the way. If you're talking, I guess, I don't know, maybe he's having problems on muting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so no, he cannot speak right now, but he is here. So he is writing to me so he can answer. I guess the NFT announcement will be going out in a couple of hours or minutes or something like that, but it's soon. It's soon coming out, and that will answer a lot of questions from the people, Carlos. But every day we gotta go back for the new members, for the new people coming to the space. What is DEGA and what is the ISPO and how does it work? We gotta go to the basic and then we go to the details and new things. So we don't want to be repetitive, but
I know there's always people from the Cardano ecosystem joining us. So for them, ISPOs is pretty standard. But there's people from other ecosystems, and some of them are just newbies in general. So we always like to touch base on a very simple explanation of what an ISPO is. Of course, to fully grasp the entire concept, you probably do need to do a little bit of reading. There's a whole bunch of articles from multiple parties, but you can also learn about it in the DEGA blog. So if you go to dega.org, dega.org, you'll find blog posts explaining what ISPOs are. And in a very simple term, it's basically we set up a Cardano stake pool, people delegate to it. The objective of the stake pool is to protect and secure the Cardano network. Usually, the Cardano network rewards both parties, right, with EDA in exchange for supporting the security of the blockchain. But with an ISPO, the project that is setting up the stake pool gets to retain 100% of the ADA rewards, and in exchange for that, they give their own token to the participants, right? So that they can take part in this new initiative, new technological development, right? So that's kind of like in short, you delegate ADA, you get to be a principal, the capital is always secure. You don't have to, spend it. You can retain your precious token and still take part in supporting new ventures like DEGA, right? So that's what an ISPO is. What DEGA is we're providing blockchain gaming infrastructure as a service, namely layer twos. So we're going to be deploying a whole set of blockchains to support scalability for the gaming industry. As we move forward to a next era of the industry of blockchain and Web3, we're going to start onboarding tens of millions, hundreds of millions, and eventually billions of people. And those numbers would break all the blockchains in the industry right now combined. So we need to be able to scale this out, right? Just like the cloud had its challenges for scaling when the internet began to explode, particularly when we created smartphones, then the demand for scalability
masih mau
grew a
setengah.
lot. So the internet is very different today than how it was,
Masih
20
mau
years
setengah
ago
di
in
sini.
terms of systems design. So in the same way, blockchain will be very, very different 10 years from now in terms of how systems are designed. Like the current designs will not scale. It's not even that they might. Not, they will not. So you are
Kan papanya kerja mo daw.
So that's good because you know that needs to happen. That will happen. There's a difference with the systems before is they didn't have the hardware of the place to do it. Do you think right now we have the hardware and everything to be able to scale? Is more about a thing of tools and usability and underlying technology, or do we need new hardware for this? And regarding that, is how do you see spatial computing and all those things coming to the table in the liquid reality world, or your world, or your vision for this world?
we have enough hardware already. I mean, not in, we will keep creating more in the sense of more microchips, right? Obviously, but in the sense of is it enough to be able to meet the demands? Yes, it is. It's a matter of more of how you design the data centers and how you interconnect them. So the same things that we're doing for the internet, we're going to be doing for blockchain and decentralized systems. So yes, we can scale on the hardware part. Obviously, there's still going to be a lot of innovation coming our way, and we're never going to stop that. For anybody out there wondering if that's ever going to stop, no, it's never. It's literally never going to stop. As soon as we solve one problem, we tackle another one. That is just how humans are built. So, be on the lookout, of course. We all heard about quantum computing and a whole bunch of other there's systems, right? Like we could talk endlessly just about the potentials of new hardware development. But going back again to your question, yeah, can we continue to use the current systems? Yes, we can. But will we invent new ones? Also, yes, we will. So that's going to keep getting better, right? In terms of spatial computing, what that'll mean is bring a whole bunch of new types of demands for the decentralized protocols, right? So if you want to have persistent gaming worlds and you want to be able to check some of those things in a decentralized, trustless manner, that's going to require a few changes in the architecture, and all of these things are going to be happening in layer two, layer three in the future. Like right now, it's like we're very technical, right? Everybody's talking about layer one, layer two, layer. All of that is not going to matter in the future, right? In the sense that just like today, you really couldn't care less about what Linux is running the server for your Gmail. You really don't care, right? And I remember we used to argue about this endlessly with my colleagues, right? Windows versus Linux versus Unix versus whatever else, right? Like nobody really cares today, right? So that's how it's going to be in the future. You're not going to care about whether you're running a particular set of tooling. The engineer cares, right? The developer, we do care, but because we have to build it. But the end user, the consumer, is not going to care. So in the future, we'll have to, build out a whole bunch of new types of systems to meet the demands of spatial computing. That's going to be that's going to strain two resources, which is going to be one storage. Well, it's actually going to be three. So it's going to be storage, right? 3D files are heavier. Some neural network compressions and generative AI systems will be able to help with that, but it's still going to be more than just storing numbers, right? Then we also are going to have bandwidth. Sending those files across the internet is more demanding. That's another thing that's going to be strained. And also processing, right? Because we're going to be using, right now, most of the best 3D spatial computing resourcing requires um, a lot of processing in GPUs, right? There are already a lot of people trying to make that work with CPUs, so it's more, it's cheaper and more efficient, and obviously AI is going to play a role there. But all of these things are challenges. We can meet them. We will meet them, right? Because there's a demand. So if there's market demand, there will be a market supply, right? So looking for. Oh, by the way, tomorrow we're gonna have a conversation that's just gonna go deep into this, right, with you. So everybody that's not following us on LinkedIn, go to LinkedIn, look for DEGA, DEGA, right? And make sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's live conversation. It's actually going to be, let me see, it's going to be at 12 p.m. Eastern or 11 a.m. CST, right? If you're if you're on those times. So we'd love to have you there. So do join us. We'll be
As
talking only about spatial computing for Web3.
Okay, so talking about this, like we could say that blockchain will become invisible, and we won't be discussing chains and all that. So that is part of the meta chain plan. And what products does that token and what we're doing in the ISVO? So
Hmm. Sure.
I don't know if we could talk a little bit about the products.
No, happy to do so. So basically, what we have, well, there's two things, right? One thing is to talk about technology, and another thing is to talk about products. On the technological side, we're basically working to facilitate scalability, right, with meta chains. And there's a few other protocols that we're partnering up with other companies to build to simplify authentication and asset management without you having to be concerned about how private key works, right? That's a very massive barrier to entry right now. Something that really pisses me off is today you want to onboard somebody in crypto, and the first thing you got to tell them is like, I need you to go and grab a piece of paper and write your 24 words there, and if you lose that, by the way, you're screwed. So it's such a painful experience. How can we say that that's the future? The future is writing stuff in a piece of paper. That is not the future, right? So we're building out a system that allows you to manage your key to remain self-custodian of it, but kind of like obfuscate its complexities behind the scenes and allow for many secure ways to recover access to your system through different methods, right? For anybody that's curious, kind of like similar to how the secret management works in Apple computing. That's kind of like the inspiration that I'm taking to be able to manage accounts for Web3. We're not doing this alone. We're working with other companies. You've all seen a few of our partners. You've seen Mel, you've seen Cornucopias Games, you've seen Bricken, Buy Finance, and we're onboarding many other companies that we're going to be working with to be able to develop this technology, right? We definitely don't want to do this alone. So in terms of technology, there's MetaChain, there's DAO for managing the private keys, and there's DEGA itself. Like in the future, when you're running DEGA nodes and the DEGA protocol, that's what we are calling the meta layer, which is a kind of like a layer zero type component. We don't say layer zero just because it's layer zero has certain specific technical implications for the engineers out there. So we don't want to confuse them, but it's kind of like you could say it's what you would say an orthogonal complementary system to the blockchain systems. So the meta layer will manage a whole bunch of metadata that's going to coordinate the layer twos across multiple ecosystems, right? So that's why we're going to have layer twos on top of Cardano, on top of Ethereum, on top of Polygon, on top of many other systems, but they're all going to seem and feel, and you're going to be able to target all of them as if they were a single system, right? You're not going to say, well, I need this API for Cardano and then this other API for Ethereum, and then I need to learn Solidity for Ethereum and Plutus for Cardano. It's like, nah. We're just going to pre-build a whole bunch of modules that you're just going to parameterize and use, and they're going to be working across multiple chains, right? So the meta layer is going to be handling that. And yeah, there's a few other stuff, but like if I go deeper, it'll be more technical. It's more of a coders conversation. And then from a product perspective, there's DEGA Studio, right? You can think about DEGA Studio as the equivalent of your AWS console or your Google console, which is where you're going to manage all the resources that you're provisioning. And then there's DEGA Render. You can think about DEGA Render as an Instagram for Web3, right? In the sense that it's going to be super simple to create, to sell, and to share or send NFTs and tokens, right? Like it's gonna be smooth. That's gonna be something that you anybody that's used Instagram can jump into the render and start using NFTs and start sending them, receiving them, creating them, buying them, and even playing some casual games with simple interfaces that we're going to be creating with our partners, right? To be able to make Web3 gaming accessible to everybody, right? And again, to be clear, all of these things, we're not doing it alone. It's not that it's one company trying to do everything. We absolutely do not want to do everything alone. We're working with other companies, which will be revealed over the coming months on every single one of these products. Right, we're gonna have we have partners for DEGA Studio, partners for DEGA Render, partners for the protocols we're building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So look forward to all of the let's say integrations we're bringing to the industry.
That sounds, dude, I cannot wait to be using those tools. So one of the things that we're talking about in that space is the Dega Batalla bot. And we just announced yesterday or last night for me, maybe today for many, a big event, happening. So I don't know. You want to tell us about the Dega Batalla bot, how it works, how it plays and connects with all this ecosystem of tools?
Yeah, so basically the Dega Batalla bot is just a small, let's say, sample. We wanted to create a very simple, engaging experience that anybody could access to try out a few of the concepts that we're experimenting with at Dega. So basically, it's just a chat-based game, right? Which is, I don't know, I know obviously compared to everybody selling spatial computing and metaverse and whatnot, it's a little bit, let's say, underwhelming in that sense. But it was exactly our objective not to do anything big, to be able to test out these mechanic. And also one of the most beautiful things about doing things in a chat interface is that everybody on the planet can access chat, right? Like not everybody can run a very high-end smartphone. Not everybody has access to video game consoles, but anybody that has any form of a smartphone, even if it's a $40 smartphone, they can access chat, right? So they can take part in this. So basically, Dega Batalla Bot is like simulating a combat, a PvP combat between two parties. We're gonna make it battle royale in the future, so multiple parties against each other. So basically, when you take part in this, the power settings of your character can be affected beforehand, right? Like you can buff your character, you can build him up like an RPG game, and you can also get power buffs on the battle, right? And one of the mechanics that we wanted to test with this was integrating social media into it and integrating tribe mechanics, right? Tribe in Dega is what other people call guilds in their ecosystem, but we see tribes actually as something that is not only a guild, right? It's something like a digital form of organization, right? So we created this mechanism in which when I challenge you, so if Carlos challenges Alejo or Freak, basically we each get a tweet, right? And then I gotta go and get likes for that tweet, and based on the amount of likes, I'll get a power buff for my health. So I got more health. And if I get more retweets, then I get attack buffs, right? So now I'm stronger. So it's something that if you go in it alone, you're gonna get wrecked, right? Like if somebody else has their tribe with them and you're alone, you're gonna get wrecked. Because I mean, there's always a chance that you could win, but most likely you're gonna lose, right? Because he's gonna be stronger and have more health than you. So that's why we made those dynamic. It was inspired on the spirit bond that Goku uses in Dragon Ball, right? When he asks people to give him their strength to be able to defeat a more powerful enemy. So that's why we're doing it that way. It's gonna right now it only works with Twitter. It's gonna have integrations with TikTok, Instagram, and a few other social medias in the future. And it's also going to take into account your NFTs, your delegation in the ISPOs, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? So all of that is going to be revealed later on in that's called Play Your Way. There's an article about that, so you can get the general idea in our blog post. So if you go to Dega and you see Play Your Way, you can read a little bit about that gamification. But of course, we're gonna keep publishing a whole bunch more details regarding that. So it's kind of like a whole new way to integrate gamification with staking mechanics, NFTs, and your tribe in Web3, right? So we're breaking all together. It's really comprehensive in terms of how all the things that you're doing in Dega come together for this battle system.
Yeah, and to celebrate and to get people to start using it, because it's really fun just to do it for the heck of it. And we run it and we challenge each other in Telegram. We're launching the DEGA Clash of Tribes, the first big batalla bot, like war level thing. We got 12 tribes and growing inside of DEGA ecosystem right now. They're big tribes. We're welcoming amazing tribes from the Cornucopias game. We got the Knights, we got the Mafia, we got the Pirates, besides other older tribes that we had in our community. So to launch the ISPO and to welcome everyone, we're launching the DEGA Clash of Tribes, which is a competition that it will run along a 5-week period. And it will work like we will have classification every week, every Saturday at 2 p.m. UTC. That's, I think it's 8 a.m. for you, Carlos. And these classifications will be a bracket system. So one member of the tribe representing the tribe will face another member of another tribe. And at the end, we will have one winner. Weekly winners will take home 75,000 DEGA tokens, and that will run for 4 weeks. Then the winners of those 4 weeks, only the champions, will face each other in a final event on July the 15th, same time, and they will be competing for 200,000 DEGA tokens.
Yeah.
That is huge, Carlos. That is huge,
Yep.
bro.
Yeah. So everybody here, if you're not in a tribe, go join a tribe or create your own and invite your friends, because there's a lot of data at stake right now for this competition. And also, it's not only about the data rewards; it's about the pride of your tribe, the pride of your brand, the values that you represent, and to showcase, right, the strength that you have, right, the power that you have. You can't change the world, or even heck, you can't even change yourself, right? If you don't take action, right? If you don't have truly committed people working with you, and this is what we're going to showcase, right? Because a lot of groups, this always happens, right? Like if you're in school and you'll remember when you got homework that was assigned to work on groups, right? Like there's always the free riders, right? A whole bunch of people that didn't want to do stuff. And it happens a lot in social media as well. There's always groups, and you see they have, 20,000 members. Okay, but how many of them are actually active? How many of them are actually working, building towards the objectives of that community? So we're gonna find out, right? Like if your tribe is